Hey guys, how is everyone today? Figured I'd do something a little different from my last episode. Last episode of Beyond the Real, we had some special guests talking about acting, making different things they've been doing, and we had a great day. So today, I just want to say welcome to Beyond the Real. I'm your host, Jonathan Thompson of Devil May Care. This show's brought to you by The Real Short Doc, and we are live on E360 TV. We're live on Facebook. We're live on Amazon Fire TV, Roku TV, Android, Apple, Periscope, YouTube. We're pretty good coverage on this. So today I just want to talk a little bit about my experiences as a whole. What made Devil May Care? What's going on with us at the moment, especially during these hard times of the COVID pandemic and all that kind of stuff. So let's start with what we've got going on right now. So today's episode, one of the reasons it's been a little different is back in December I had a stroke. And over the last couple of weeks I've been having recurrences of some of the symptoms. It's difficult to focus at times. So today I just want to talk. Sit down, say hello, share some stories, have some laughs, that kind of thing. So, what we do, create amusing content. I mean, it's what amuses us. People often ask, where did the company name Devil May Care come from? And the answer to that one is actually my mother. When I was young, I had what's known as a Devil May Care attitude. I did what I wanted when I wanted, because I wanted to do it. Did I get in trouble a lot for it? Yes, because as a young person, there are things that you shouldn't do, or your parents have already done it that the way you're trying to do it, and it didn't work. So my mother would always comment that my Devil May Care attitude was either going to get me dead or rich. So when we decided to launch the cosplay company, we did Devil May Care Cosplay, partially because Devil May Cry is one of my favorite games, and we were running a theater at the time, and then we decided to move into live, actual film production instead of live production. So we just transferred the name over. So we went from Devil May Care Cosplay and Productions to Devil May Care Production. All because my mum used to comment on my attitude when I was a kid, which is why some of our slogans for the company are Devil May Care. It's more than just an attitude. Or because why not? That's why we do stuff. That's why Devil May Care exists. We wanted to do it, so we do. As independent filmmakers with low budget, there are times that we want to get nice Hollywood effects, beautiful cinematography, nice sound, but we don't have hundreds and hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars to put into our productions. So how do we create those top quality effects and feels a low budget? And that's part of what we enjoy doing here at Devil May Care, especially with all of the things we have going on from theater. We've done set design, costume design, light design, sound design. We've put on shows to the point that we have an advantage over other new filmmakers. That we've been to a point that if you don't get it right the first time, you don't get it right. In live shows, there's no second chances. There's no let's cut, retake, do it again. But we put a lot of that knowledge into our film work. And right now we're building a studio in North Carolina in the United States. That studio, we're gonna play around with it, change the way it looks every time we do something new. Our show, The Dark Detective, which is coming up. That one, having a venue that we can change and play with as we want, it's going to make a huge difference to. Right now, we use my house. I got 3 rooms in my house that I changed the look of just by things like this: little background, little backdrop. I've got different scenes painted on backdrops. I have different things I attach to my walls to change the look. Different pieces of furniture that, if you put it at a different angle, all of a sudden, it's an entirely different room, but it's not a different room. Having a space dedicated for that, not just different rooms in the house, is going to make a huge improvement to quality of what we've got going on. Property we bought has a river, so we can do some really cool shots. For those of you who've seen Netflix's The Witcher, the scenes by the river where he's got the bottle for the gin, the scene with the big beastie at the beginning where he pops out of the water, we'll be able to create scenes like that. And it won't cost us any extra. We won't need an entire sound studio to do that. So, as independent filmmakers, having a dedicated space is going to help us a lot. But going back to The Dark Detective. The Dark Detective is going to be a web series. We haven't decided how many seasons we're doing yet, but we do have at least one written. It's Detective Dark. May wrote the guy's name, his first name. She only ever refers to him as Detective. Those of you who've seen Lucifer will understand. Detective is a very important name. But he's actually a vampire. So through the day, he's looking all kind of disheveled and scruffy and just generally weak and pathetic. And then as soon as the sun goes down, he turns into this debonair, really sexy, amazing looking guy who's fighting all kind of supernatural bad guys. It all starts with a secretary applying for a job with a detective agency. Walks in and there's a mess and there's this body under a pizza box that she thinks is dead. And then he wakes up and he doesn't know who she is. She doesn't know who he is. He's tired. She's trying to organize his entire life, and he's just out partying as far as she knows, because he comes home torn shirts, blood everywhere, half drunk because the sun's coming up. And that's going to be a lot of fun. But that's something we've got that we're working on right now. As you know, because you're watching this right now, whether you're watching it live on a rerun, we have the Beyond the Reel, where we break down aspects of film, how we do film. We bring in special guests, talk to them how they do film. Last week we had Isaac Wells of Pyrolite Studios. We had Colin K. Bass, who works with Nerdbot Studios. We had Luck Mangione of Lucky Break Productions. For that, we had James Kirk, screenwriter who's worked with Warner Brothers and big studios. I'm hoping to get a couple of Hollywood producers on here on my next episode, so that'll be fun. I also have a show called The Director's Chair, which is put on for No Strings Attached E-News, where I interview entertainers. That's what we do now. And it all started 2015 for a lot of this, being our own company. With a little tiny show, a little film called Breakfast. We got a new camera. We were all excited because we got it for pictures but did video. And we were moving out of live theater and we wanted to try something. So there was some off shots. Some of the framing wasn't quite right. Because the stuff I'd done previously, I had cameramen. I had people who would operate the machinery that we need. I knew how. I knew the basic concept, but I never actually took the time to learn all of the terminology, everything that goes into it. But by the end of 2015, we were producing solid stuff because I went back to filmmakers I'd worked with in the past. Went back to people who knew those parts of the jobs better than I did. I knew how to act, I knew how to direct, I knew how to design and build. But the camera work, going from stage to camera, was a big leap. It was a big difference because I'm used to looking at the whole picture. Everything. Your stage from stage left to stage right. Everything in between. All of it in one go. Then I went to camera. I only need to worry about this little bit. All of this is still here, but I only need to worry about this. So that's where I had to learn. And we did all right with it. My primary focus, obviously, is directing. I've spent most of my life acting a fool or acting. Either way, it was still entertaining. One of my earliest memories as an entertaining aspect was family gatherings when growing up in Northern England. My grandma was the heart and soul of the entire family. And my mum's the youngest of like a million kids. And they all used to get together. My cousins, my aunts, my uncles, grandma, everyone. And we'll go to the local like social club with some of these things. We'll go to grandma's house for others. But I always had in my mind that I could dance. We're talking the 80s. Michael Jackson just released his early stuff as a white guy instead of a young black gentleman. I just done Moonraker, so his film was big, and some of his dance moves were seen, on the film that I watched. So I was trying to emulate some of his dance moves. I couldn't hold a beat for nothing. I couldn't keep a rhythm for no one. And I'd get up on the dance floor, and I'd be dancing and acting a fool, and I think I'd be great. And my Uncle Billy would get up there, and we would have dance-off competitions. Now, my Uncle Billy was probably the age I am now when we're doing this. So I'm 8, 9, 10, those kind of ages. And I'm having a ball. Some people putting their heads down going, oh, why? Yeah. I mean, I looked like an octopus on dry land, limbs everywhere. But I thought it was great. And every time I do a silly move, my Uncle Billy would do a silly move. And he encouraged me. I had someone that got up and acted with me. And by the time we were done with those family gatherings, me and Uncle Billy would be absolutely exhausted. We'd be sat down laughing and joking and sweat pouring off us. But we had a great time. My first acting gig was at my primary school. It was a live performance of Disney's Mary Poppins. I grew up Church of England, but we went to a Catholic school because it was the best school in the area, and it was like 2 minutes away. And they got a drama program where every year they'd get students from different ages and do different things. And my first one I actually got a role in was Mary Poppins. During Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious, there's a part where one of the chalk drawing people is singing the song right at the end, and he says, one day I said it to my girl, and now my girl's my wife. And she hits him with a tambourine, and he flinches and says, what a lovely wife she is too. And, this is before I knew anything about stage combat, stunts, how not to get hurt doing it. And of course, it's long before this girl knew anything about this too, who was playing the wife. And I said my line, and next thing I know, it was a crash across the back of the head with a tambourine, and I said my line, and everyone laughed, and I was young and stupid. I didn't know any better. Yeah, it hurt, but there was a round of applause and a round of giggles. I thought I did a good job. Now, I wouldn't be able to do something like that. I wouldn't trust a stage performance at a school now where someone hits you with a tambourine, because everyone's so sue happy and injury happy. It just wouldn't work the way it did back then in the 80s, back in the 90s. And part of me thinks that's a good thing. But part of me is like, well, that's a learning experience. That's something that I learned the hard way, to dodge tambourines. And that was pretty much where I got bit with an acting bug. Every year they do a new show, every year at audition. Secondary school, I was in a touring choir group, basically. And we'd go around different hospitals and I'd sing for with the whole people, especially around Christmas. All these people in hospital, not able to do much. And things like that. So being a performer, being in front of people, doing stuff, it's something I've done all my life. But I wouldn't have kept doing it if it wasn't for my Uncle Billy getting up there with me, getting up there, dancing, and I looked ridiculous. Looking back on it, I looked absolutely sudden ridiculous. But there was a man I looked up to, looking just as ridiculous with me, and we had a great time. That brings us back to making film. Making film is not something you do to make money. People want to become famous actors. They want to be millionaires. They want to be the next Bruce Willis or Kelsey Grammer or Keanu Reeves. They want those $1 million paychecks. So they're going to put themselves through all of these acting classes, and they're going to drill themselves from an early age on how to be the best actor possible. They're going to be all over social media, all over TikTok, all over YouTube. All they're doing is chasing money. If you are in this industry, if you are trying to be a filmmaker, trying to be an actor, trying to be anything in this venture, sorry, apparently one of the lights is affecting my ocular nerve because it's making my nose tickling. So if you're in this industry trying to do it just to get those big paychecks, you're doing it for the wrong reason. It's a passion. It really is. If you don't have a passion for it, it's not worth doing. Everyone can tell. I know I'm not saying don't work, don't work your butt off to do something just to get the money, because heck, job after all. But you got to have that passion. There is a misnomer out there, but there is a misconception out there that to make it big in the film industry, you have to work for free. You have to start with free gigs. Every actor starts as a free extra on a friend's film. Every director starts as a PA on a low, just running around getting coffee or something. That's rubbish. If you have the drive, you have the passion, you have the skills to do something, just because you think it's going to get you a name, a production company won't remember the intern. They won't remember the guy who ran across the screen going, ah, that they never paid. You don't have to do free work to make it big. A few years back, I helped someone create and produce a web series. And this man was a novelist by trade. He could write, and he did, but he'd never written a screenplay. So I introduced him to Celtx, the free screenwriting software. I showed him screenwriting formatting. And me and his cameraman trained him how to direct, how to pick out the camera angles, how to pick out the lighting, how to do everything involved in filmmaking. And he made the same mistakes every beginning director. Everyone makes those mistakes, every single person. But he took it a step further. And he actually sat at a read-through of one of the episodes when one of the actors complained about his demands on their time when they had to leave work, a paying gig, come and do his job, and he was complaining they were 10 minutes late. His exact words were, everyone knows in this industry you have to work for free to do anything. If you want to be famous, you have to do this for free. %50 of his lead cast were paid actors, paid models, working professionals in the industry who are lending their talents to his show. To get a name for yourself. Their name and what launched his show. So that goes back to that. You don't have to work for free. You certainly couldn't do it if you don't have a passion for it. A lot of the films I've made have been comedic. And I don't like the term dark comedy because, or black comedy, however they say it now. It's funny. Sam Raimi's Evil Dead. It was a horror comedy. It was. But it was also horrific. Having a twisted sense of humor. I mean, like firefight a policeman kind of twisted sense of humor helps dramatically. And this fly is going to bug me, something chronic. It helps amazingly if you're doing comedy. So, if you have a sick, twisted sense of humor, don't try and hide it. I do. Every time I add a new twist to the end of one of my stories, I get amazing responses. And I got that because my dad was a horror author. And my family were his test audience. Would sit there and listen while he'd read one of his stories he was working on. And he'd be like, so what do you guys think? And we're like, okay. He's like, good story. And the stories were beautifully written. Absolutely amazing. All the way through the story. There's this nice flow, nice feel. There are a couple of things that are kind of thriller moments. You sat there going, what's going to happen? What's going to happen? What's going to happen? And the thing you expect to happen didn't happen. And then at the end of the book, all of those little moments were like a dot to dot. There was a whole picture created, and that picture was terrifying. That picture was gruesome or chilling. And I use that in my experiences, in my storytelling. I like to create beautiful, flowing stories. Everything goes from one thing to the next in a nice, smooth arc. There's no jarring moments until the end. And that jarring moment right at the end connects all of the dots in my film that I put in there. When I was writing Endgame, I had a friend writing parts of it with me because my time was taken up with other projects. So I gave the synopsis, gave the storyline, gave the characters, gave the character arc and the story arc. And we had a conversation about the character names. I named one of my characters Daedalus, because there was a whole Greek theme I had going on. And he said, well, that's difficult to say. Why don't you pick something easier? And I said, because it makes sense later in the film. And he just couldn't get it. Couldn't get it. And then I wrote the scene with that guy's son, who was involved in a massacre, in a flashback sequence. And the son's username was Icarus. And I had to explain to him Daedalus was Icarus's father in Greek, in Greek legends. Daedalus made the wings for Icarus to fly to the sun. And he was like, how do you put all these pieces together? I mean, they're just right there in your mind. You're like half the movie ahead of where we're writing. I says, yes, I have to be. That's the way I write. That's the way I make my movies, is I plan out everything. While you're focusing on this one little bit, I know what's happening all the way along, and why something that happened 3 scenes back is important for something that's 6 scenes ahead. All while focusing on the one bit I'm doing right now. Why? Because I like to write rewatchability. I like to write rereadability when I write my novels. I want my audience to go back to my film. How many times have you seen The Matrix? How many times have you gone back and watched something and gone, oh my God, I missed that the first time? I am putting together a series right now based on my father's stories. I already made one of the films as a 48-hour film test, and it came out rather well, I think, actually. And I'm going to do a whole series of films, all based in the same town. And it's all of my dad's stories, plus a couple of my own. And in each story, the main character from another one of the stories can be seen somewhere. A building or newspaper or something significant in one of the films will become something insignificant in another. And they all mesh together. So when people are there, when people are watching them, they'll watch the first one and, give or take. It may not be to everyone's liking. But those who like it will watch the second one. And they'll watch the third one. And then they'll see someone from this first one in the third one. Or they'll remember seeing someone in the second one in the first one. And they'll go back and watch the first one. To spot that person. And then while they're doing that, they see a building. And then they go back to the third episode and that same building is there. But that building was in the second one. So they go back to the second one. And all of these things, I write in from the very beginning of the concept. All of these little nuances, all of these little chases, all of these little things that keep people paying attention, they're all there. All the way through. When the series Elementary first came out with Johnny Lee Miller as Sherlock Holmes and Lucy Liu as Joan Watson, the first season of that show I found was amazing. It was absolutely phenomenal. Me and my friend Jim, the Real Shot Doc, we would sit and watch that show religiously. Every time it came on, we'd record it if we couldn't watch it live. And before they got to the big reveal at the end, we'd pause. We'd stop the show. It's made things like this so much easier than having to rush to the bathroom and have all your siblings yelling, "It's on!" So we would pause right before the big reveal. I would give my theory of what was about to be revealed. He would give his theory. And then would explain it. The clues we had seen in the episode. What had we seen? What did we piece together? How did I view something that was insignificant? Versus how did he view something that was insignificant? And we go from there. And it was great. We never got the same solution but once. And we were always so close. And there's 2 episodes it actually tricked us. The clue was there, but we both missed it. But to us, that was amazing television. That was television the way it should be, thinking about it, watching it, going, oh my God, look what just happened. Right now, with the coronavirus, the film industry is shut down. They're not making new films. What films they are making aren't coming out. The summer blockbuster time is gone. Pilot season in January this year is going to be crazy. All of these indie filmmakers, all of these young, upcoming, I have the next best idea are going to be jumping on a bandwagon. And all of these networks are going to be tightening their purse strings going, I missed a whole season of films. I missed a whole year of new television content. You are new. You are bringing me danger, basically. It's not danger as in, you're going to kill me. It's danger as in, if I invest money in your show, am I going to see it back? Am I going to get my investment from putting money in you? Or am I going to get my investment from putting money in Joss Whedon? Where's my best bet? Someone I know has a dedicated following. With everything they produce, they make millions of dollars for my company. Or am I going to put my money in this guy who has a great idea and is all excited because we just lost all this money? So now, if, like me, you have this series idea, we actually have several series we're working on, and we are going to be pitching them when pilot season comes in. But we're not pitching them based solely on the fact that we have these ideas. We have these shows. We're going to be pitching the fact that we have a demographic. We have pre-existing audiences. And I learned that lesson the hard way. The first time I tried to make one of the series for this, it was definitely a passion project. It was called Albert, and I run a Kickstarter for it. Crowdfunding. You know, I need a new tooth pulled, give me money, and they're 300% financed. I need a new dress for prom, and they're 200% financed. I'm an Instagram person, give me money so I can travel the world and send you pictures. And sometimes that works if you have friends who care about you. Film, you have to have a plan, you have to have a strategy. Making money on one of those kind of crowdfunding sites as a filmmaker. You can't just go in and go, this is great, give me money. That strategy doesn't work. I did that. I went in. This is my project. This is what I want to do. This is gonna be epic. This is the kind of thing I would like. And one of my friends, who was more than happy to give me money as a personal thing, called me up and says, Jonathan, me and my friends, we look at Kickstarter. We invest in these companies, these smart techs and all this stuff, and we get stuff back for it. I give them money, they give me financial return. What's in it for me with your film? I don't need a poster. I don't need an interview with a member of the cast. I don't need a shoe that might have been worn by one of the characters. I don't need a copy of the film. If I'm giving you money, what's in it? As an independent film, I couldn't offer him a guaranteed return on investment. I couldn't offer him, if you give me $1,000, I'll get you 2,000 within 3 years based on market research for this kind of film. That got me thinking about it. With crowdfunding, what kind of rewards do you offer someone? What kind of things can I put that will get my friends and family involved? When I first told members of my family I was going to be a filmmaker, I was strongly cautioned against it because some of them have friends who are well-known cinematographers in London, but they went to university for it. They got all these qualifications, all these skills. What did I had? A live production theater and experience acting in a few films and TV series that I'd done over the last 15 years. I'd never produced my own film except for a few that they never knew about because they were for film festivals only. They never knew what I was capable of. They'd never seen any of my stuff because I live in America. They live in other countries. Distance, if you're not doing anything on television, for someone to come up and say, hey, what have you got? So my family didn't really understand the passion, didn't understand I knew what I was getting into. So I was advised, don't do it. Don't do it. And then when I launched the crowdfunding, I had they'd donate to me. It never made goals. So on Kickstarter, I didn't get any of the money, unlike Indiegogo. And I was okay with that because I learned a valuable lesson. I learned how to pitch investors, how to get people to give me their money for my idea. What could I offer these people? What would entice them to care about my project? I know they care about me. My friends, my family, most of them have been with me a lot of years now. And family longer than friends. That's why it's a most. They care about me. They don't care about my work. They don't care about my passion. So why would they give me their money? I had to come up with ideas and goals and start producing audiences, start getting people to like my stuff. Even the trolls, even the people who just watch something so they can complain about it. I love dealing with trolls. Just ignore them. They go away. When you respond, they try and make you bite. They try and prove, oh, you did something to upset them, so you're wrong. But every time someone gives you some feedback, even if it is just some stupid comment, look at it and go, there's something I could have done better. Anytime you can engage your mind with your film, will make money with it. I will guarantee that. I'll give you $5 right now if you don't. It's one of those, some criticism is worth it, some criticism isn't. But everything adds value to what you do. Everything adds a little something that you can take away. And that's why this pilot season is going to be James Kirk, who we had on the show for our first episode. His show that he's writing right now, Final Exam, has been picked up. He's got some A and B list actors with letters of interest. He's talking to his lead right now and refining the script. They're all excited. But James has worked with companies before. They've seen his audiences. They've seen the investment he will bring them. So for you independent filmmakers right now who are on filmmaking forums, they're on these sites for filmmakers saying, hey guys, check out my film. Like me on Instagram, like me on Facebook, see what I do, tell me what you think. Not going to. They're not going to. You might have 5 people in that whole group who will give you an honest opinion. For every 5 that give you an honest opinion, you'll have 6 send you spam. Hey, check out mine. I liked you. Are you going to like me? And if you don't like them back and comment on their stuff, or as soon as you like them back, they take their like away. Filmmakers are not interested in seeing filmmakers work. You're promoting to the wrong group. Unless, like my projects, or Alex LeMay's projects, you have something designed to help these filmmakers, these new independent filmmakers, refine their craft. No one on those groups is going to give you a time of day. Figure out who your audience are. You're writing horror. Join horror groups. Don't join a filmmaker group. You're making comedy. Talk to comedians. You're making drama, sci-fi, fantasy. Join groups for fans of the genre. Another filmmaker is not going to care about making you famous versus making themselves famous. You can argue with me till you're blue in the face on that one. Another filmmaker is not going to make you famous if they can make themselves famous. And that's another one of those harsh realities that you run into. Same as my friend. You know, hey, you want to share this around and help me get some investors for my film? What's in it for me? Well, I have a list of rewards. Yeah, but I don't want any of that. Well, you're my friend, yeah, but this is business. Same idea. Look at my film. Why, I made one. What's in it for me? What do I get out of watching your film? You get a viewer. Join me on Facebook. Share my Instagram. If you get 10,000 followers, you can monetize. Not how it works. They have to be legitimate followers. They have to be engaged followers. Another filmmaker may share your stuff if you share theirs. Share for share society, no one gets rich. Capitalism exists for a reason. And in the film industry, capitalism is king. You could have the greatest story never told. Have no one that's willing to watch it. If you have nothing else to sell but the greatest story, you'll never sell it. If somebody else comes in with a moderately okay story, but 200,000 people that follow them and engage with them, people who are excited to see this project, even if the project is terrible, they'll throw money at it. Good example for the greatest story, Firefly. Great story, great cast, wonderful directing. Cancelled after 14 episodes because there was no audience. They invested not only in the actors but the director. But after one season, after 14 episodes, they cancelled it. Now it's a cult classic. Everyone loves it. But at the time it was released, no one cared. Studios are not going to take that risk anymore. They're not going to throw the amount of money they threw into a show like Firefly unless you can bring something with the show. If they'd have released the concepts for Firefly, if they'd have released other stuff to bring people into that sci-fi world, that show would probably still be getting made today with fresh episodes. Years after the event, they made a movie. After they canceled the show, they made the Serenity movie, which relaunched it and its popularity. But all of the actors were busy doing other stuff. The director was making Marvel movies. Moving on to DC. The fan base came after the event. If you have an amazing idea, get your audience. Get people excited. Get people talking. Not filmmakers. Filmmakers will be happy for you. They'll be excited for you. They'll be like, well done, mate. Here, have a handshake. Now, this is what you can do for me. Get your actual audience. Get the people who want to be in your show. And when I say in, I don't mean actors. I mean in your show. The Witcher became so popular because it had 3 games based on those 7 books. If it wasn't for those games, the Netflix series wouldn't have been as popular as it was. Amazing series. Great acting. Great directing. But if it didn't have the fan base attached to the name The Witcher, it would never have got made. They took the plunge based on the fact there were millions of copies of these games sold. When The Witcher got released on Netflix, the video game sales for Witcher 3 quadrupled. over what they were at release. That's what they took their money on. That's where they put their bet, is these millions and millions of people who already play the game. Now they're watching the series. They're going to tell their friends, hey, you should watch the series. It's amazing. It's amazing. They watch the series and go, wow, that's great. What is it? It's based on this game. Well, I need to play the game. They go out and buy the game. I'm like, well, the game's based on a book. Let me go out and buy the book. Wait, there's 7 of them? That's the kind of round robin as an independent filmmaker we need to create. That's what we need to see. We need to bring in an audience who love your concept. Match them with their friends who've never heard of your concept. Now all of a sudden, you've got 2 sets of people who love your concept. Those 2 sets of people go out and grab 2 sets of people, who go out and grab 2 sets of people, who go out and grab 2 sets of people. You just got 1 million followers. You had 2 groups of people love your content, and you haven't made anything yet. You then take that to the big studios. Hello, I have an idea. Well, what have you done with it? I've introduced it to 1 million people. If all 1 million of those people give you $5 for video on demand, you've just made $5 million. And it will only cost me $1 million to make it. And those 1 million people will tell 1 million more. And all of a sudden you've made $10 million for $1 million that you gave me. Then we can do season 2. Is it making sense yet? You have from now, from September 15th to January, get an audience. Get people excited for your idea. Do the promotion. Tell people what you're doing. Then in January, send an email. Hi, I love what you've been doing. IMDb Pro is your friend. I love what you've done in the past with this kind of show. I really enjoyed this part of it. I think I have something that would work well with your strategies and with your current buying history and what you've done in the past. Would you mind if I sent you something? That's the introduction to these people. I have X amount of people excited for this project. I would like to bring that to you. May I send you something? Instead of just hey, I've got an idea. Boom, there you go. Tell me what you think. That goes straight in the trash. There's no hello. There's no handshake. There's no how do you do. You still have to do the introduction. Never send your great idea on the first attempt. Because that great idea you just sent them becomes someone else's great idea because they have no idea who you are. Why would they give it to you? But it's a good idea. These are things that I've learned over the years. A lot of naysaying, a lot of people saying you can't do it, you shouldn't do it. Why are you doing it? And that brings me back to the story from earlier. If it wasn't for my Uncle Billy getting up and dancing like a fool with me, I wouldn't do what I do now. I wouldn't have the confidence to stand up and go, yeah, you can laugh, but I know I'm good. Yeah? So just think about that for a little bit, guys. That's about all the time I have today. Thank you for joining me. If you're watching this on the reruns, thank you for bearing with it, putting up with it. Now, I'm going to go take some more of my medications, relax a bit, and I will see you in 2 weeks' time, hopefully, with a Hollywood producer on the show. Take care, everyone.